Week 17 of the fantasy football season, and here's a few tight ends I look to drop this week. The first guy, Oguzhan Okoronkwo of the Tennessee Titans. Okoronkwo had a couple decent ball games, but now with Malik Willis at quarterback here, no one's going to really catch the football over there, I believe, for this Tennessee Titans team. Just a lot of running the football and replay options in this offense for the remainder of the year. So the last few weeks here for Okoronkwo, Week 13 at Philly, 4 catches, 68 yards. Week 14 versus Jacksonville, 6 catches, 45 yards, a touch, 2-point conversion. Week 15 at the Chargers, 4 catches, 54 yards. And Week 16 versus Houston, only 1 catch for 10 yards. So right here, things were going in the right direction for him. But this hasn't been the case now with Malik Willis, the quarterback. And they versus the Dallas Cowboys in Week 17. That gives up the third least amount of fantasy points to wide receivers on the season. So right now, Okoronkwo I can't trust. It's not him, it's more the quarterback situation. So he's a tight end I would drop this week. The next tight end I look to drop is Hunter Henry of the New England Patriots. So Hunter Henry's had a couple decent games this season, but obviously his best days were with the Los Angeles Chargers after he left here for New England, though, a few seasons ago in free agency. The last few games here for Henry, Week 13 versus the Bills, 2 catches, 13 yards. Week 14 at the Cardinals, 3 catches, 70 yards. And then Week 15 at Vegas, a good matchup on paper, 2 catches, 9 yards only. And then Week 14 versus Cincinnati Bengals, he didn't play in that game. So surprisingly right now, he's still on the 43% of fantasy leagues here, Hunter Henry. And this offense is a mess for the most part. I know they made a few plays versus Cincinnati late in that game, but obviously they had to throw. And there was a couple lucky balls as well to Kendrick Bourne and Jacoby Myers down the stretch in that game, especially a Hail Mary for a touchdown. So right now I know it's a good matchup on paper versus the Dolphins. They give up the third most points to tight ends on the season. But Hunter Henry's not a guy that's consistent, and especially you're playing in a championship game or a third place game, you're not going to count on Hunter Henry this week. So he's a drop in the third and final tight end I look to drop this week's Cole Kmet of the Chicago Bears. So Cole Kmet, he got off to a decent start in the middle weeks of the season, but now the last few weeks here pretty much non-existent. The last 4 out of 5, Week 11 at Atlanta, 3 catches, 35 yards. Week 12 at the Jets, 3 catches, 27 yards. Week 13 versus the Packers, 6 catches, 72 yards. Week 15 versus Philly, 4 catches, 25 yards. And Week 16 versus Buffalo, 5 catches, 27 yards. So Week 17, I know a good matchup here at the Detroit Lions. I give up the 5th most fantasy points to tight ends on the season. But right here, this team, they're not looking to throw the ball a lot with Justin Fields. Here at Detroit, I think we're going to see Fields run a lot in this ball game. After last time we saw him go over 100 yards rushing versus Detroit in Week 10. And Cole Kmet just doesn't get the job done. I know in Week 10 he had a monster game versus Detroit, but he's more of a home tight end than he is on the road. And that one, he had 4 catches, 74 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Obviously, I don't see that happening again. And like I said, the numbers have really dropped off over the last few weeks. So right here, I was a Kmet owner. I dropped him last week, and he maxed out at 7-7 in last week's ball game. So he's a tight end that's just hot and cold. And it's not totally his fault. It's the scheme over there in Chicago, the way that Fields runs, obviously, and the offensive line isn't great. So a lot of factors against him. So that's a few tight ends I look to drop here for Week 17 of the fantasy football season.